I've made roughly $2 million in the last year or so selling high-ticket services online. And I did it by brainwashing myself to believe just 12 core principles. Now, you might be grinding every single day, sending thousands of DMs, cold emails, cold calls, just to try and sign your next few clients, only to find yourself at the end of each month signing fewer clients or the same number as you did the month before and struggling to actually outpace the number of clients that are churning from your business. And in this struggle to achieve scale, you've probably tried working harder, changing business models, niching down, and even getting better at sales just to find yourself facing the same problems and being capped by the same revenue ceilings. And now you find yourself starting to question whether you're just not experienced enough to sell high-ticket services online. Or maybe you're starting to question whether hitting those 6- and 7-figure months is even a possibility for you because you just don't have the time to figure all this out while still trying to make ends meet. And at the end of the day, you find yourself sitting in bed, scrolling through social media, wondering what those gurus and those thousands of young 20 to 25-year-old kids that are now multimillionaires are doing so different to what you're doing. Maybe you're making money hand over fist, you're doing way better than I am, and you're scaling your business with no problems and no bottlenecks, and you're just here to see what I have to say. Regardless of why you're here in this video, I'm gonna cover the exact 12 principles that I brainwashed myself to believe in order to make $2 million selling high-ticket services online in roughly the last year. And remember, if you feel stuck or you are stuck, it's usually not about working harder and more so about thinking differently, which takes me to principle number 1, which is that we don't have business problems, we just have personal problems. Over the last year, we've worked with over 575 individual service-based businesses and their owners here at my company. And one of the things, in fact, the only thing that we've seen as a common denominator across every single one of those businesses, ranging from $10K a month all the way up to $250,000 a month, as their single biggest bottleneck, is the fact that they all have limiting beliefs, and those limiting beliefs are the reasons their business hasn't achieved that next level of scale. And the same is true for myself and my own business partner. The reason why our business is stuck at $250K a month is not because we don't know how to run ads or we don't know how to close people on sales calls. It's more likely to do with something that we haven't yet learned, a fear that we have internally, a limiting belief that we have internally that needs to be addressed. So until we're able to peel all those layers of the onion back, identify what that limiting belief is, smash it, and move past it, we'll still be stuck at this revenue range. So in order to get to that next level, we have to identify what our personal limiting beliefs are and then move past them. Principle number 2 is that you are your greatest vehicle for wealth generation. And the reason I say that is because for every dollar that I invest into ads with the businesses that we run, I know that in just 30 days, we will return more money hand over fist than any index, mutual, hedge fund, or crypto that we could invest in at a lower risk profile. If you spend $1 in ads, return $3 to $5 in gross revenue, that's a 3 to 5x ROAS, which is usually where we sit in terms of healthy scaling metrics. Now, if you can confidently name one hedge fund, index fund, mutual fund, or crypto that has consistently month over month generated 3 to 5x returns on every dollar you spend, I will happily trash all my businesses and go all in on that investment. But that has yet to be discovered. The other thing to consider on this point is that the majority of billionaires and multimillionaires in the world have well over 70 to 80% of their net worth in equity holdings in private and public companies. Why is that? It's because it's the easiest way to multiply your wealth. Enterprise value is simply a multiple of EBITDA, aka profit, or even top line revenue in certain situations. And all you have to do is make sure that you're achieving that next level of scaling your business. And these multiples grow as your revenue and your profit grow as well, which means you get to take exponential leaps in your wealth as you grow your business in profit and revenue. It's not linear, it's exponential. Principle number 3 is spend more, make more. A few months back, I had a call with a media buyer who was personally responsible for taking 3 different service-based offers, selling coaching and done-for-you services online from a few $100,000 a month to multiple $1 million a month run rates. And the one piece of feedback and the lesson that he gave to us was most people optimize for a pretty ad account and not a pretty business. Instead of focusing on slowly scaling your ad spend to make sure that we have those pretty ROAS numbers, instead just focus on scaling your ad spend to make sure that you increase your EBITDA. Because at the end of the day, that is what contributes toward your multiples the most, and in turn contributes to your individual net worth and wealth the most. And I can personally attest to this given the 500 plus service businesses that we've worked with in just the last 12 months alone that spending too little on ads, spending too little on your team is often one of the biggest bottlenecks that these businesses face. We spend too much time trying to save profit, optimize for pretty lower level metrics, when the real purpose of business is just to make more money. It is to make more profit. And so why optimize for anything else other than a pretty profit and loss statement, or better yet, a pretty business? Principle number 4 is people remain stagnant because they set goals that will change their life and not goals that will change other people's lives. More simply put, the money that you make with your business and the profit that you make with your business is a direct reflection of the value you can provide to the market. If all you are in it for is making money for yourself, at the end of the day, you'll probably end up building a quick pump and dump business that doesn't last for much longer than a year or two. The real impact, the real wealth, the real growth comes in changing hundreds, thousands, or hundreds of thousands of lives in the process. Principle number 5 is money is a cruel mistress. If you don't pay attention to her, she'll leave you for somebody else. One of my favorite understandings is that a lot of the world's poorest people are the ones who are showered the most in money, but allow it to flow off them and into the drain. And the reason we do this is because a lot of people just don't know their books. And it's as simple as making sure that you have a bookkeeper on staff for a few $1,000s a month so that you can stay on top of your accrual and cash accounting to know what is my profit for the month, where do I need to cut expenses, and what is the logical next step to scale my business. If I can't ask you, how much profit did you make last month, and you can't tell me down to the dollar? Or how much top line revenue did you do last month, and you can't tell me down to the dollar? Or I ask you, how much did you spend on ads, and you can't tell me down to the dollar, so on and so forth. There's probably a place for you to improve in understanding where your money goes in your business, and you'd be surprised how much of a difference it makes when you really do. Rule number 6 is revenue is vanity, profit is proof. There's a reason why all the info, coaching, consulting, and Chad scaling internet money guys are always talking about their 50K month, 100K month, 250K month, but are never cavalier enough to actually show you what the profit margins were on that business. Because it's easy to scale a business at 0% margins to the 100 plus, 250 plus K per month mark. But the hard part is getting there, making it sustainable, and making sure that you can actually come home with a profit that makes the pain and sacrifice that you have to put in to get there worthwhile. The other reason why is because it's simply easier to market. So the next time you are scrolling through social, out at a networking event or a mastermind event, just make sure that you remind yourself that the people you spend time with might be doing better than you from a top line perspective. But at the end of the day, businesses are valued based on EBITDA, and profit is proof. So make sure you protect your profit and your EBITDA with your life, and just stick to your own guns. Principle number 7 is the scale of your success is a direct reflection of the purity of your intentions. And this kind of comes back to principle number 4, which is that most people will remain stagnant because they set goals that will change their life and not goals that will change others. And that the money that you get to accrue in your accounts, your profit, the thing we'll be talking about for the majority of this video, really is just a reflection of the excess value that you've provided to the market versus the value that you've taken from the market. Being, if I'm able to generate $100,000 a month in value for the market and I'm able to come home with $50,000 in profit, that is the excess value that I've generated. Now, if I go out and I spend $20,000 at the club, $30,000 on a trip, and I'm left with zero, well, the net value that I've provided versus taken from the market is $0. And that is why the scale of your success really is a reflection of the purity of your intentions. The more you care about the flash and the material possessions and flexing on people that you don't even know, the less value you get to retain. And therefore, the less success you'll be able to achieve because you won't be able to scale your business, and your business won't be there with as much profit as it could have if you maintain that value or retain that value. Principle number 8 is you don't have anything to prove to anyone but yourself. There's not much to say on this other than the only people that care about the watches on your wrist and the supercars you drive and the penthouses you live in and the first class seats you post on Instagram are the ones who can't afford it. The ones who can, the ones who can afford more, quite frankly, don't give a fuck. Principle number 9 is achieving greatness matters less about how quickly you win your first championship and more about how long you're able to stay on the court. If you pay attention to any of the greats in sports, the true GOATs, the Michael Jordans, LeBron Jameses, the Lionel Messis, they have been in the game forever. And for that reason, they've had the most amount of time to make up for failures, to maximize on their learnings and turn those into undeniable, unrefutable results. So the next time you make a decision in your business, the next time you choose to start from scratch and entirely change things up, remember, when you start from square one, you are starting from square one. And you take that step back from the 1, 2, 3, 4 years that you just spent investing into something that could turn into a great long-term play. Obviously, there's that saying that goes, it's not about how long you row the boat, it's about if you're rowing the faster boat. I do believe that is true to an extent, but at the end of the day, if you just row that boat for 50 fucking years, you will make it further than 99.99% of the world's population. Principle number 10 is that at some point you go from needing to motivate yourself to work because everything will change if you do, to being motivated to work because nothing will change if you don't. And this sort of sums up the previous 9 principles in that when we first start our entrepreneurial journey, trying to hit that first 10K, 25, 50, 100K month, it's all about, man, if I can just do this, if I can come home with an extra $50,000 in my pocket this month, and for every month after that, I'll be able to retire my parents, travel the world, buy all the things I've always wanted to buy, and become that person in my friend group and my family that can be the provider. And that's really where we all start. But at some point it flips, because one man's fortune is one man's fortune. You can only spend your money on so many things. And at that point, things do flip. And it becomes difficult to achieve that next level of scale because when everything is so comfortable, you truly do have to be doing things with an altruistic or external motivation. The reason why I wake up every morning and continue to push for scale when it could be so easy to just say, you know what, why don't we just sit here at 100 to 250K a month, make sure we can maximize our profits and just go travel the world, stack money for the rest of my life and retire early. We could do that, but that's not what we're here for. Nothing will change if we aren't able to achieve those next levels of scale. We won't be able to change those billion people's lives for the better that we set out to do in our company mission. And so at some point, you do have to change that objective. And when you do, everything becomes a lot easier to face, both from a success and a challenges perspective. Principle number 11 is pay your taxes. Just remember this. You could spend your life running away from the taxes, trying to figure out a way to spend less, pay less to the government, or you could simply find a way to provide more value and make more money. The other thing is just remember that the tax system is an incentive system. There are people who are much smarter than yourself, whether you believe that or not, sitting at the seats of government that really understand what it takes to maintain a healthy economy. Now, that is completely subjective. But all to say, our tax system is an incentive structure. It tells you where people think it's best to put your money for the betterment of not only yourself, but the rest of society. And I think there's something to be said about that. So instead of finding out ways to pay less taxes, to save more money, just go find ways to make more. And principle number 12 is that everything comes at a cost, but not everything has a price. There is no price to freedom and fulfillment. You can't buy your way to either of those things. But your journey on the way there does have a cost. And the longer it takes you to figure out what freedom is to you, what wealth is to you, and what fulfillment is to you, the greater the cost you incur. Now, you could argue that the higher your aspirations are and the further reaching your goals are to achieve those things, the cost may be greater, but is it truly a cost if you are fulfilled and working toward that? Now that brings us to the end of the 12 principles that I brainwashed myself to believe to make $2 million online in just the last 12 months or so. Now the reason I make these videos is so that you can learn from the mistakes that we make and copy the things that are working for us to hopefully achieve your dreams and aspirations faster. Now if you have any questions about life, about business that you need answered, drop them in the comments below and I'll get back to them and answer them as soon as possible. I'll see you in the next one.